I don't even know what day of the week it is anymore.
What year is it?
We are officially on level 6 of Jumanji. I can't wait for this year to finally be over. But speaking of levels, when I was 19, I had one thing and one thing on my mind: how to get a girl. And I couldn't, so I settled for the next best thing. I wanted to make as much money as I possibly could so that I could trap them, so I started learning card tricks. As many card tricks as I could, except the problem was that I could trick other people into thinking that I could maybe produce lots and lots of money, but I couldn't trick the one thing that actually mattered: my wallet. So that still stayed empty. Now maybe you can relate, but when I was younger, I just wanted to know the answer to this one question. What's the best thing that money can buy as far as an investment for passive income or just in general? Relax, dude, you're like 12. Just stop stressing, enjoy your life, because everything's gonna be all right. I was that annoying kid that would always ask,
What do you do for a living? How much money do you make?
nobody would ever answer me because that's weird, but the people that did always said the exact same generic answer I didn't understand. It depends. What's your goal? What do you mean it depends? We all have the same goal. It's to make a lot of money and to be rich. Just show me the real life equivalent of jumping from world 1 to 4 and 4 to 8 Super Mario style, and I will leave you alone. It seemed so black and white at the time when I didn't understand anything about money, so I wanted to make this video in case they invent a time machine so that I could go back and show myself this video. Since that won't happen, I wanted to answer this question in a way that my younger, more stubborn self would understand and wanted to hear it by sharing the top passive income investments of all time. Let's begin. Hi, my name is Andre Jick. Hope you're staying safe, well, staying positive, and forget where I was going with this. You ever do that? Me neither. So let's figure out what it means to be the best investment in the world. First, it needs to actually make money. The more money it makes, the higher the score. And second, it needs to be pretty easy for people to actually do. I don't want to do another 100 consecutive jumps on Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars. I already did that. I got my super suit, and it was the most difficult thing I've ever done. I never want to do it again. So I don't want my investments to be difficult. The easier it is for other people to do, the higher the score. Third, how strong or fragile are these blocks that I'm actually building with? How far can we push our investments before they break? The higher the score, the less risk we have to take, and the last criteria is taxes. The higher the score, the less taxes we have to pay from our passive income, which means we get to keep more for ourselves, which means a higher Jick score from 1 to 10. So here we go. This is a 1998 Happy Birthday Pikachu investment, and it is one of the rarest cards Pokemon has ever made. And if you had one of these when you were 12, you were considered cool. Now let me show you some of the quirks and features of this card. Sorry, I just wanted to try being Doug DeMuro for a second, but the first investment is not Pokemon cards. It's alternative investments, and it's stuff that most people buy thinking that it's a great investment, but the reality is it's just stuff we buy and we convince ourselves into thinking that it's actually a great investment when it isn't. It's just the coping mechanism. And these things include collectibles, things like cars, coins, watches, Yu-Gi-Oh cards, basically all the things you and I probably own and are the most proud of. But these investments don't actually produce anything of value. They just sit there looking pretty while you hope that the next guy who comes around pays more for them than you originally did. And for this reason, I'm gonna give it tree fitty, and I'm taking all the risk. But for the earnings criteria, I'm gonna give this one a 2 out of 10, just because there's so much randomness involved and there's a degree of luck that's way beyond my control, plus it doesn't pay me any passive income at all. But to be fair, it is accessible to everybody and anyone can do this all around the world, which is why I'll give it a high score of 8 out of 10. Now for safety, leaving your money here isn't something that's a great idea. It can be damaged, it can be stolen, and if you try to sell that rare and valuable thing, you might sell it for a profit today, but tomorrow the mood will change and there goes your money. So I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 10, and it's difficult to value it based on intrinsic value. And when you do decide to go and sell it, there are no tax write-offs, and you're gonna get hit with a 28% capital gains rate, and that's long-term after you held on to it for more than a year. That is a 3 out of 10, bringing the grand total of 18 out of 40, putting it in last place, and I'm gonna give it a participation trophy. The second one is called P2P lending, which was introduced to me about 6 years ago. It's also called person-to-person lending. It's where companies take our investor money and they lend it out to people and small businesses that were otherwise not approved from the traditional banking system for a loan. This means they're usually higher risk, which means they have lower credit scores, which also means we get to charge them more money, and so we make more, and they get to borrow money they otherwise would have never had access to. The traditional rate of return for this is around 4 to 7%, which is good. So I'll give it a solid 5 out of 10 for both the money and the safety, because you can essentially pick and choose which way you want to go. Just be careful because it is very easy to get started. 8 out of 10 on the difficulty, which means you could just do this online in like 10 minutes, but you might not get your money back because some people won't be able to pay back their loans. Now, as far as taxes go for these investments, these are taxed at ordinary income tax rates, so I'll give it a 5 out of 10. It's not as good as capital gains, but it's okay. So 5 out of 10 for a grand total of 23 out of 40. Number 3, royalties. This is when you get paid for having a little bit of nobility in your blood, is what I thought when I was younger. But actually, it's when you get paid a percent for making a sale from a product. Right now, I'm making roughly $100 every single month, and I've been doing that since I've created a product since high school, teaching people how to do magic and cardistry, which is so cool. This is how music artists, creators, and authors love getting paid. But the reason this isn't higher on the list is because it's pretty difficult. I'll give it a 5 out of 10 on the difficulty score just because it's hard to create a product that other people know exists. It's hard to advertise it, which is why you need a pretty big personal brand or a company behind this to do it for you, which is why it's also called a royalty, because more than likely, you're not the one to create your product. Some other company will create your idea into reality. And if you want to try this for yourself, which I recommend you do, then try writing a course or a video course teaching people how to do something useful. Create a course on how to make money. Just don't become a guru. The more relatable it is and the more useful it is, the more units you will actually sell. And since you're investing in yourself, I'm gonna say that the risk is pretty low, so I'll give it a high score of 8 out of 10, because I believe in you and you should go out there and get that idea published. And as far as taxes go, you're gonna be paying them on Schedule C under your ordinary income tax rates, which I'll give a standard 5 out of 10 for a grand total of 26 out of 40. And number 2, stock market investing, specifically dividend investing. Last year, I made a little over $6,000 in dividends, and I'm gonna make a lot more next year once I pay my taxes and actually invest a lot more. But for this one, you can make money 3 ways: from the dividend income, the dividend increases, and the stock value going up in price as well. So for this one, I'm gonna give the money a 7 out of 10. And for the ease of use, because anyone can do it, if you have Robinhood or Webull and you got your 3 free stocks down below, you don't even have to learn how to analyze stocks. All you have to do is buy a broad market ETF like VYM or SPHD, and you're good to go. Anyone can do this. 8 out of 10. If you do that, your money's not too much of a risk, especially if you're buying blue chip stocks. So I will say that it's a 7 out of 10 for safety. And as far as taxes go, if you make $40,000 or less per year, you will pay 0 in taxes because of capital gains. And if you file jointly, that's $80,000 that you can make completely tax-free. 8 out of 10 for taxes for a grand total of 30 out of 40. And at number 1, if you want to make the most amount of money possible as quickly as possible, with the most options as possible, then there can only be one winner, and of course, it's real estate, because for just $20, you can own up to $100 worth of real estate because you can leverage. So for the money, I'm gonna say it's a solid 8 out of 10. Unfortunately though, it's pretty difficult. Now people say it's easy, and you'll see it in the comments down below. I've done real estate since I was 12. It's easy. But those people are either realtors or they've been doing it for a while. So of course it's easy once you know how, but that's true of anything in life. In comparison to dividend investing, it's a lot more prohibitive because you need a lot more money and you need a lot more experience to actually be doing it right. So for the difficulty factor, I'm gonna be very fair and say that it's a 6 out of 10. But if you can master it though, real estate, pretty much at worst case scenario, is already a great hedge against inflation, and it's about as stable as a stable blue chip stock. So for safety, I'm gonna give it a solid 8 out of 10. But when it comes to taxes, this is where it takes the entire cake. What kind of cake? Tres leches, obviously, because it's the best kind of cake and I am hungry for it. Property taxes? That's a write-off. Mortgage interest? That's a write-off. Did you just fart inside my house? That's a write-off. lots of different ways to write off your taxes to offset your income, so I'm gonna give taxes a 10 out of 10, bringing the total score to 32 out of 40. Some honorable mentions I did not include: CDs, bonds, high yield savings accounts, because I don't consider them investments as much as just places to park your money so it doesn't lose any value. But the one thing I didn't mention is something called private equity, which you might have heard of, but basically you can find the next Tesla or Google before it goes public. The reason I didn't talk about it is because the minimum investment here is $250,000, and you need to have a minimum net worth of at least $1 million to be considered an accredited investor. So yeah, there goes that idea. Think of the money that you make as a building block of life. Sort of like this little Lego piece right here, which by itself is sort of useless. You might be able to sell it or trade it in for lots of little pieces, but it's what you build with it that really matters. And if you want a bigger, fancier house, you'll need more of these little blocks, which means you'll spend more time and more time working. And for most people, that's a never-ending, unbreakable cycle of working and spending. So we need a blueprint. We need an instruction manual to build something long term. So instead, when making money from your job, don't treat that as your actual income, and instead think of your true income as money that you make from your passive income investments. That's your true final form, and that's how I look at it. And that changes everything you think you know about what a good investment might actually be. Circling back to the original question, which investment is the best? If I could paraphrase this video and answer my younger self, I would say the best one is real estate, but it depends. And that's weird. Why does it depend? Isn't that the best one? Why didn't you pick it? Because that's not my favorite. That's not my number one. It's because it's called personal finance for a reason. And it's not always about making the most amount of money possible. Otherwise, we would all be over-leveraged real estate investors. What I value most is medium amounts of risk and stability, which means I won't get to live the lifestyle of the rich and famous, but that's okay because I look up to them and they make me better. But I never learned the intricacies of day trading. I never had mentors nor access to them, and I didn't have real estate parents that taught me how to do that, leverage real estate, and take more risks. But as I get older, I'm learning more and more to take those risks, and we are who we are, and we like what we like. Instead of worrying where to invest your money in, worry about increasing your income, and then worry about building that savings rate. Because the more money you can save, the more you keep, the more money you're gonna have. Hopefully, if my teenage self took the 14 minutes that it took to watch this video, he would smash the like button, but then would also understand exactly what "it depends" meant all along. But if you do want to get started with investing, make sure to sign up with Webull, fund your account $100 to get your second free stock valued up to potentially $1,400. It's the last month that they are doing this. Sign up with Robinhood to get your third free stock. Follow me on Instagram, I post from time to time. Join my free Discord group, we talk about investing. Love you, thank you so much for watching this video. I will see you back here on Monday and Friday, and maybe an occasional Wednesday. You are awesome, I'll see you soon, bye-bye.